My name is Katie Saylor-Wilder, and welcome to my Screencast PowerPoint. First off, introduction to me. I already said my name, but my name is Katie. I'm in Alma College class of 2020. My major is psychology and possibly a double major, but right now it's just sitting at a minor for special ed studies. I have two younger siblings, a sister and a brother, and I love animals. I have tons back home. I have 3 cats, a dog, a rabbit, and various goldfish. And the picture to the side is a picture of me with my little brother. Criterion reference tests are tests that compare a student's performance against a specific standard or criteria. Most of the tests that you see, for example, are like the Brigance or the Woodcock-Johnson. Formative assessment, a range of formal and informal assessment procedures conducted by teachers in order to modify teaching and learning activities to improve student achievement. Typically involves qualitative feedback rather than scores for both student and teachers that focus on the details of content and performance. Formative assessments are used to build the knowledge on what a student's academic needs are. Summative assessment, unlike formative assessments, summative assessments evaluate student learning at the end of an instructional time by comparing it against a standard. Summative assessments break down what a student has learned or what they still need to work on. Triangulation is the idea that data should be collected 3 times per academic year. Collecting data 3 times per year makes it easier to see any change occurring in the student's performance. It's most common to use 3 different tests to collect this data, so formative assessments, summative assessments, or any form of teacher assessment. The Brigance math procedure. So first you'll open up to the desired grade you wish to begin your testing on, and then aloud you will read the instructions in bold and give any visual instructions as they are written, and then you either let them work until they finish or until you tell them to stop. Then you grade the part that they have just done, and then move on to the next test part. But note that in order to continue, they need to have at least an 80% accuracy to indicate that they know the material. And then you continue these steps until they fall under the desired score. So for my student, Alice, I worked with her on only the math test. I didn't have time to do the reading, but in September, she was at 3rd grade. In January, she was at 4th grade, but with only 45%. And then in May, she only raised that to 50% for the math test. So obviously, she really is still kind of at a 3rd grade level. She needs more work at the 4th grade level. In September, she was working on simplifying fractions. In January, Alice worked on identifying decimal amounts, and in May, we're going to work with Alice on identifying differences in decimals and fractions. Her math goal is to be done by March 2018, and by this point, we're hoping that she will be at the 5th grade level for the Brigance. And note, there was no reading data because I did not get to that. This is a graph of her scores. Obviously in September you can see that her score for the 3rd grade level test was pretty high. Then in January for 4th grade that score dropped, and then in May it only went up a little bit, and then I did go on to the 5th grade test just to see like maybe if she didn't know some of the 4th grade stuff, but she did know 5th grade, and her score was like very, very low, like 27%, I believe, for the 5th grade test. So my lesson plan that I created for Alice is going to be comparing fractions and decimals using greater than, less than, or equal to. The outcome for this, or objective, is that she will be able to identify greater than, less than, and equal to values in fractions and decimals. And her vocabulary she needs to know is what these symbols mean, so that the less than means less than, the greater than means greater than, and the equal means equal to. Materials. So I'm simply just going to create a worksheet that has those varying fraction and decimal values. for her to compare them. And then we're going to have whiteboards so that she can write each one down on a whiteboard and have that bigger visual representation and see what these numbers are. And I'm not going to be using any technology for this lesson. Prior knowledge that she needs to know, she should know how to read fractions and decimals, which she does, and she should be able to know what those symbols for greater than, less than, and equal to mean, which she does. So questions I'm going to ask just to verify that she does know this is, do you know how to read a fraction? Do you know how to read a decimal? And do you know what these symbols for greater than, less than, or equal to mean? The lesson itself is going to be visual and individual, so I'm hoping that that will help her be more hooked into the lesson, because it's not going to be like a full class setting. It's just going to be me and her working on this math portion that she needs the work on. The objective and purpose, this lesson will help her to be able to visually see the differences in fraction and decimal values, because when I was doing my testing, I noticed that she struggled to look at two different fractions or two different decimals and say this one is bigger than this one, or this one is less than this one, or look at them and say these two are equal. So explaining the information, making sure that she's making connections. I know that she has worked with reading fractions and decimals, but now we're going to take those skills to the next level and have her compare them, and we're going to work on that because she really struggled with that in the Brigance test. Modeling. So I'm going to demonstrate this skill for her because I really think that she needs the demonstration instead of just jumping right into it. So I'm going to just take, for example, a fraction of 1/3 and a fraction of 1/4, which obviously, which one is greater, 1/3, and then do another one with a decimal that is 0.04, and then 0.4, and have obviously 0.04 is less than. And then in equal to, I'm going to demonstrate that 1/2 is equal to 2/4, so that she can see that. For my guided practice, I'm going to sit with her and answer any questions and clarify any directions that she needs, because that was another thing I noticed, is there were some directions on the test that she found quite confusing. So I want to sit with her and make sure that I am there if she needs any assistance, because she's a great student, but I know that she needs that extra help when needed. Checking for understanding after the lessons. I'm going to go on my own personal sheet and introduce fractions and decimals that she hasn't worked on, maybe some that are a little harder, and see if she's able to figure out these problems as well. So instead of having simple 1/3, 1/4 fractions, have fractions that are 6/8 and 3/6, and fractions that are a little you need to round them down. That's not what I want to say. Fractions you have to figure out what a little more process into finding out what the smaller value, greater than value, or equal to value is. So for her independent practice, I want her to be able to create a worksheet using what we have just went through for other students. So this worksheet will include greater than, less than, and equal to problems for fractions and decimals. So I basically want her to take what we're learning about and make something that other students can use, and make a worksheet that other students can use to work on these lessons. And if she's able to make a worksheet that says 1/3 and 1/4, and know that the correct answer for that should be 1/3 is greater than 1/4, then I'll feel very confident in the fact that I've helped her learn what she needs to learn. closure, I'll quickly, like, at the very end, discuss any problems that could be occurring within her independent work. Like, is she still struggling even though she did good on the worksheet? Does she not understand, like, how to make a problem for another student? And then just simply have her homework be that the student worksheet needs to be done before the next class period. My reflection for Alice is that she definitely struggled on the Brigance math test in a few different areas, obviously greater than, less than, and equal to with fractions and with decimals. But I did notice that she understood the symbols for greater than, less than, and equal to. Her main struggle were centered on seeing the differences in fraction values and decimal values, so she has trouble looking at two different sets of numbers and figuring out which one is bigger, smaller, or if they're the same. And also there are a few directions that she was confused on. According to research, instructing a child with a learning disability, like, it needs to begin early. That's why responsive intervention was created, because it helps these students before they hit rock bottom. Also, students need goals and expectations just like mainstream students. So that's, like, what I want to set up for Alice, is for her to have those goals and expectations, that even though she didn't do well on one portion of a test, I want her to know that, we're going to work on this. Your goal is to get this, to know this. And then students with learning disabilities also need help with social skills as well as academic skills. In Alice's case, she needs both of these in equal time in class. So she needs the academic and the social skills, which is another reason why I want it to be a bit more individualized, because I've noticed that she does do well with, like, full class, but at the same time she does enjoy having those, like, one-on-one interactions with help, and it makes it easier for, like, me to, like, sit there and make eye contact with her and show her, like, this is individual work, you can talk to me, you have that safety net for your social needs. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and judge you, I'm here to full on support you. So that's why I want to have the individual interaction with Alice, because she does need those social help as well as academic.